Kumar is there. Besides Ramesh Bashyam, Dr. Sundaresan from Hyderabad, many Prime Panchina also is there. Very interesting. Just for 30 seconds now, keep the video on. Keep the video on and give a big round of applause to Naavi and Logesh. Then Naavi can start.
Welcome, Naavi.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I think I will now share the screen, Rajendran, and start. Okay.
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, friends. I have been, of course, speaking about Bitcoin for quite some time. In fact, when the Bitcoin community conducted their first conference in India in 2013 in Bangalore, I was one of the speakers. And at that time, I had also, one of my interviews were published in Times of India, which was actually speaking about why Bitcoin actually is a recognized commodity in India. But of course, subsequently, I've been, of course, at that time itself, even in that first presentation, I had been speaking to the community that they should not promote Bitcoin as a currency, but it has got a legal validity under Information Technology Act. But that didn't happen. Bitcoin's basic USP itself was that it was a currency. So subsequently, I had to keep talking about why Bitcoin has got some issues in the economy. And I have been more or less trying to convince the government and all others that the current system of cryptocurrencies as it exists may not be the ideal thing for our country. But anyway, I will leave Mr. Lokesh Babu to speak about other positive aspects, but I will start with my presentation. I've called it as the Bitcoin Bite. It is very fascinating, but it could be deadly both for the individual as well as for the economy. So that is the basic canvas under which I will try to speak. Now, this concept of Bitcoin is actually a very, very fascinating Bitcoin. Even I was very much attracted towards that because this was a concept where you could grow currency in your backyard. That is, in your computer, you run your computer for some time, and if some money comes out of it, there is nothing more fascinating than that. So this system was designed like that. And this generation of Bitcoin happens because there is a task given to the set of people who subscribe to this, what we call as the mining activity. Their computer will be a node. And whenever somewhere in the world, somebody transfers some Bitcoin from one person to another person, that transaction comes to every one of these nodes as a broadcast, and if they confirm that we have taken note that so-and-so transferred so many Bitcoins to so-and-so, that is considered as a sort of an authentication by that node owner. And by a majority of more than 51% of the node owners, if they all recognize one particular transaction, that is considered as an authentication of that transaction itself, and that transaction goes into a record so that no duplicate transaction can take place. That is the idea of Bitcoin, where there is a universal ledger of transactions, and whenever a new transaction happens, we try to collect that new transactions into a list of debits and credits, and then add it to the earlier ledger. And the person who adds this helps in building up a decentralized ledger of transactions, and that is considered as the contribution he makes, and for which he is given the salary in terms of new Bitcoins. Of course, since a number of people will be simultaneously attempting to write the ledgers, we cannot reward all of them. So the Bitcoin algorithm gives a certain challenge that apart from adding these lists, that is acknowledging that a particular transaction has taken place, I will give you a small, let us say, problem to solve. You should calculate the hash value after adding one variable called the nonce value. And so the list of transactions plus this nonce value, you calculate the hash value, and this hash value should be less than what is given as a target hash value. And obviously, the first time it will not be like that. Then change this variable input called nonce value. Try again. Again, try whether the hash value is in the target. Like this, by trial and error, you try some million transactions of hashing, and finally you may come to a particular value of the nonce value, which is the variable number which you add before you calculate the hash value of the entire block. And if that is below the value which has been given as the target for this particular creation of the block, that successful person will be considered as the successful creator of this block, and he will be rewarded certain number of bitcoins. At present, I think 12.5 bitcoins are being given. So then the identification of those bitcoins will become part of that block, and that block gets recognized, and people will start building the new block. So block by block, this ledger keeps on growing, and everybody who contributes to that, if they're successful once in a while, they will get this reward. This is actually referred to as the mining of new bitcoins. See, this particular activity is what I call as legally permitted, because you are running your computer. At the end of this your computer, you are generating some, you are playing a game, and then you are declared as a winner of the game, and as a winner of the game you get some reward, which is another electronic document, which simply says that you are the owner of 12.5 bitcoins. Whatever it is worth, it is an electronic document, and as an electronic document, it is a recognized document under Information Technology Act. So up to that mining activity, it is just like any computer game, and then you get a certain loyalty points kind of a thing. That is fine. The next level, what happens is when people say that this Bitcoin can be exchanged for any goods, then you are actually entering into a sort of a barter system where this commodity is being exchanged for certain goods. Even that barter system perhaps is okay, as long as it happens within a community of people who each of us understand that even if you give me a small piece of paper chip, I may give you money. That is between the two of us. So Bitcoin or cryptocurrency as an exchange of rewards within a closed group is also something which does not interfere with the law of the country. Where the problem comes is when Bitcoin is promoted as a currency, and the currency is something to which you can convert your Indian rupee, then we are entering into a different zone. See, as of today, if you want to mine, you have to install that mining software, become the owner of the node, and then receive these transactions, and if you are successful, you will get your reward. So that is as far as mining is concerned. But this mining activity is today no longer relevant, particularly for us in India, for individuals, because the mining is today so difficult that even if you buy a special computer, a special software, special hardware for quick processing, and dedicate it only to calculate the hash value again like that, still it is understood that the cost of mining can be almost prohibitive. One, you can invest some 2-3 lakhs and buy this hardware, but then you have to keep running this computer, and that processor will consume a lot of electricity, and at the end of it, you would have spent more electricity than the value of the Bitcoin. So therefore, it is not at all profitable and definitely not feasible in any of our normal computers to go for Bitcoins unless you are one of those lucky persons who get a 10 crore lottery or something like that. So most of the other people actually go directly for buying Bitcoins from people who have already mined. They may be the persons who had mined the Bitcoin sometime earlier, or those who might have bought the Bitcoin from another person when it was traded. So part of this trading activity is the one with which most of us can today acquire Bitcoins. If we want to do that, we need to have what is called a Bitcoin wallet account. It is like opening of an email account kind of a thing. So a service provider who gets that, who can give you the Bitcoin wallet account, you can try to create a Bitcoin wallet account. And if somebody else has to transfer Bitcoins to you, you designate your wallet with that number, and he will be loading it onto that. And the service provider who maintains that wallet account will keep it as part of your asset. That is like a demat account of shares where you keep loading these shares. So this Bitcoin wallet account is something like an email account opened with a particular service provider, and it is, again, doesn't have any name. The most attractive feature of Bitcoin, as well as its weakness, is that this is an anonymous kind of a transaction. Your Bitcoin wallet has got only a number which is like a hash value, and the Bitcoin transactions and the Bitcoin are all used as a public-private key kind of encrypted pairs. So therefore, there is no identity associated with any Bitcoin holding, nor even this Bitcoin mining activity or the holding activity. So because of this, the holding of Bitcoin is completely anonymous. And in fact, this is the reason why the Bitcoin Foundation says that this is a decentralized system. The central banks like Reserve Bank of India do not have any control over this. And therefore, this is immune to the political risks, in the sense that if your government tomorrow falls down, there is no Indian government, there is no Reserve Bank of India, you will still have Bitcoins. Like in the olden days when the king fell, perhaps people who had gold perhaps still had their assets. So the concept of Bitcoin when it was started was perhaps more relevant to countries which could go bankrupt. And because people don't trust the government, they wanted a currency system outside the government control, and this cryptocurrency became one of the ways by which they could build this, you can say, currency system on a peer-to-peer basis. That is, all the people who are in the Bitcoin community can say, we will use Bitcoin for transfer of assets between us. If I want to sell you something, you can pay me by Bitcoin. So as something like in a club, you have these plastic chips with which you can perhaps exchange various things within the closed group of closed doors of this, let us say, a club. You might have bought the plastic coupons while entering a club for the purpose of playing rummy or some stakes or something like that. But after you go inside, if there is a canteen there, and if you want to buy something in the canteen, you can give the coupons, and if he accepts it, that coupon in that limited circumstances would be a currency. So as long as it is within the four walls of a closed community, it is their desire, wish to have whatever currency they want to have. You all remember that this Ram Rahim person in this Punjab, within his community, he used to have his own currency, which was actually a piece of paper with a rubber stamp of his organization. So likewise, cryptocurrency, to the extent it was being used in the early days as a medium of exchange of goods within a closed community, there was not much of a problem. But the moment people start promoting this as a currency in competition with legit currencies like the Indian rupees or dollars, and say that you can convert Bitcoin to any of these currencies, then we are also creating a situation where people are being able to convert their rupee balances or any other identifiable assets into an anonymous currency, which is the Bitcoin. That is where Bitcoin assumes the characteristic of black money. See, normal black money, you have got rupees which are not into the tax records, and if you invest that rupees in a Benami property, there may be a property also, but we still call it as black wealth because it is not recorded in the tax considerations. Now in Bitcoin, what we have is, we have converted the Indian rupees or dollars into Bitcoin, and it is an anonymous this thing, and it can be transferred to another person, again anonymously. Therefore, over a series of such transactions, the state completely loses track of where a particular money has gone, because every transaction is anonymous. The Bitcoin blocks are all on encrypted messaging system. So taking a particular block, you will not know who was the miner, who was this seller of a particular transaction, where the particular Bitcoin went. None of these can be identified to individuals, and the numbers which you find there, which are perhaps the public keys of particular persons or hash value of a certain transaction, they may belong to somebody in India, next transaction may be somebody elsewhere. So it is a complete jungle of anonymous transactions, which means that the government of the day or the sovereign central bank has no control on money circulation, which is happening in these Bitcoins. Now, when we talk of Bitcoins, we are talking of one cryptocurrency, which is today valued at around 7 lakhs, and it can be further broken up into what we call as the Satoshis. So that is one. However, there are now more than perhaps 1,000, 2,000 other cryptocurrencies. I call them as privately managed cryptocurrencies. So all these cryptocurrencies are anonymous, and Bitcoin can be converted to any of these other cryptocurrencies. So once a person converts Indian rupees into Bitcoin, it means that it is almost fungible with any other cryptocurrency. Next time it may be Litecoin, it may be something else. So all these cryptocurrencies become one family in which the transfer or exchange is almost seamless. Therefore, when I speak of Bitcoin, I am actually simultaneously speaking of all these cryptocurrencies. Now, beyond these cryptocurrencies, nowadays, there are at least a couple of countries where they have allowed the conversion of these cryptocurrencies into legit currencies. Like you can convert, say, Bitcoin into Japanese yen or Swiss francs, which means that once the rupee gets converted into Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or whatever is that, there, I don't even remember all the names. Now, all these things can be converted into Swiss francs or a Japanese yen kind of a thing. So, instead of converting Indian rupee to dollars, for which India has got a Foreign Exchange Management Act, and you have got authorized dealers, and the government has to take care of the foreign exchange assets, whether the Indian assets are backed by gold or whatever is that. When you use Bitcoin as a conduit to convert Indian rupees into foreign currencies, we have Bitcoin as a great, you can say, instrument of Hawala, or instrument of money laundering. Why do we say Bitcoin is bad for society? Is because Bitcoin is being promoted as a currency. It is not being promoted as a closed group exchange system. It is being promoted as a open source of exchange medium with currencies. So first thing we have to recognize is that there is no government authority which can regulate the Bitcoins. It is not monitored by Reserve Bank of India or the central banks of any other countries. So the stock of Bitcoins in the hands of any individual is not traceable by Reserve Bank of India. Therefore, this is much more than the proverbial numbered account of Swiss bank we used to talk of earlier. This is like in the case of Swiss banks, at least you have to open an account in Swiss banks, and now that Indian government has negotiated with the Swiss government, you can get some information about who is holding that money. So people who are holding it in Swiss banks, those who could not perhaps withdraw, we are saying that their black money has been identified or something like that. But Bitcoin, every individual can have his own bank account, which is this Bitcoin wallet, and keep his black money there, and he can open multiple Bitcoin wallets, and he can put it in different service providers, and as long as he remembers the name or the number of that Bitcoin wallet, he can even delete it from his current computer system. Therefore, even if the income tax authorities actually seize his computer, if it's quite possible that they may not be able to identify the presence of Bitcoin wallets. It may be actually a coded a file, or it may be stenographically hidden somewhere, and unlike identifying a bank account, it is impossible to identify a Bitcoin holding. That's why when we talk of Bitcoin fraud, police will not be able to trace the Bitcoin holdings, so that if the Bitcoin wallet is somehow, let us say, corrupted, corruption can be through some genuine reasons, or let us say the service provider who was providing the Bitcoins, Bitcoin wallets, suddenly vanishes into thin air one day. You have no option but to forget your Bitcoin holdings. There have been instances where Bitcoin exchanges have suddenly vanished along with the Bitcoin holding of all their customers who held Bitcoin wallet accounts there, and no police anywhere in the world can trace that, which means that people who have invested in the Bitcoins in such companies have permanently lost the money. That happens because the whole Bitcoin community is working on the thin lines of, actually this is a deep web activity, and there is no accountability. If somebody wants to cheat you, they are very well licensed to cheat you, and if you want to operate with them, it is like you are trying to deal with the underworld, and if the underworld person does not do something which you want to do, you don't have the authority to call the police and say, this person gave me supari to kill somebody, I killed, and now he is not paying the money. You cannot make such claims. So Bitcoin transaction, being one of the below the surface transaction, will always have the difficulty of calling the law enforcement people to help you. Okay. I will take questions later on. Now, this conversion of Bitcoin from INR to Bitcoin, Bitcoin to other cryptocurrency, and other cryptocurrency to perhaps foreign currencies, that is the route which we always dread as a route through which the Indian rupee holdings of people may get converted into anonymous holdings if Bitcoin is legitimized in our country. If Bitcoin is legitimized, then I and you, we will not have any reason why we should have our money in the bank as INR. We will shift from your ICICI Bank and State Bank of India rupee balances and your fixed deposits, put it in Bitcoin of company A, company B, company C, whoever is offering this service, and your rupee balance will appear to be there as Bitcoin balance, and hopefully all of them are as strong as State Bank of India, ICICI Bank, and they will not go bust or they will not vanish. But if they vanish, you have got no recourse on such a thing. Therefore, but if people value holding of assets in black form, definitely Bitcoin is the best instrument for holding digital black wealth. And that is the reason why a lot of people would be quite happy if Bitcoin is legitimized so that they can convert the rupee balance. Theoretically speaking, if all the bank balances get converted so that you don't have a TDS or anything and Bitcoin is moving up and down, so today it is 7 lakhs, it may go up. When I first looked at Bitcoin in the year 2013, the value was around 60 to 65,000 rupees. At that time, it was available for payment of cash. There were many such brokers in Bangalore city who would receive cash from you and transfer Bitcoins. That from 67,000, now it has come to 6,70,000. It had gone even higher and now it is settling down at a particular point. Now, after the demonetization in India, certain black money got converted into these Bitcoins. And even now, when the Supreme Court recently gave some leverage for Bitcoin exchanges to operate, some of the assets in stock exchange, I suspect, has been converted into Bitcoins, because this also coincided with this COVID related issue. So if Bitcoin is recognized as a currency and legitimized, then the possibility of Indian rupee balances getting converted is very, not only high, but it will certainly happen, because there is no logical reason for people to hold the Bitcoin hold their rupee assets as it is, because as a Bitcoin, there is complete, you can say, wall of curtain with your asset and the government. Okay. The second aspect which always worries me in Bitcoin is, being a currency which is most ideal for cyber criminals, this is a currency of choice of the criminals. That's why whenever there's a ransomware attack, people take the ransomware only through Bitcoins, because if it is a bank account, then somebody may trace the bank account. There is a KYC for opening a bank account. Whereas if it is in the Bitcoin, you have always an easy way out. Though after the last controversies, some of these Bitcoin exchanges in India are saying that we will also do KYC. And we will only open accounts only with KYC. Therefore, don't blame us for holding it as a black currency. I am anyway having the KYC of a person, but that will not satisfy me, because we know that when there are multiple transactions, Bitcoin may be there today, but then you may sell it to another person, and whether KYC is there for the other person. If the other person is a foreigner, it will go abroad and then perhaps come back, we don't know. So there is always a possibility that this KYC of this Bitcoin exchanges is only for the first transaction. Subsequent transactions will go out of the radar, and people will always find their ways of doing it. So this Bitcoin definitely is a black wealth, and because it's a black wealth, everybody who is supporting corruption, they are all in support of Bitcoins. Bureaucrats are happy with these Bitcoins because they can take bribes without much of a problem. Even the judicial persons, I don't trust the judges at all. The judges may be taking the bribes in the form of Bitcoins. The politicians definitely may be taking bribes in the form of Bitcoins. So Bitcoin is being supported because it is the perfect black money, perfect asset for black wealth. The only persons who are concerned about Bitcoin are the honest taxpayers. even the businessman is happy because he keeps some part of his business, wealth as black money. So the honest taxpayers who are in the minority in the country are the only people who are afraid of Bitcoin. But unfortunately, we can do very little. Being a black money, even terrorists are very happy because today Pakistan is printing Indian currencies to destabilize Indian economy and also to finance the terrorists. But once Bitcoin is legal in India, they don't have to worry about printing the currency and passing it on through Hawala routes to India. They can very well pay by Bitcoins or any other cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin will also be the currency of the terrorists. So it is a digital black money. It's a terrorist funding instrument and criminals' choice currency, and it is a money laundering instrument. In fact, a lot of us who will be buying the asset should also look at the legality of buying a tainted asset. You know that in our law, nobody can transfer a property to another person, and if there is a defective of title by the transferor, without that defect, he cannot transfer it to another person. So transfer is not free from the defects of the title of the transferor. If I am a person who is having a, let us say, a house on which I have got only 50% property rights, when I sell it to another person, the buyer will also get only that 50% right, not more than that. The only exceptions to this rule are the negotiable instruments, where you can create a holder in due course who may get a title better than the transferor. So this Bitcoin, which is an electronic document recognized in the Information Technology Act as an electronic document, can only be considered as an instrument on which we perceive value, that is fine, but it cannot be a negotiable instrument. So it can only be transferred from one person to another person along with the defects of title associated with it. When we recognize this, if the Bitcoin which is being handled by one person has at some point of time in the past 10 years or 12 years when this has been in existence, if this had gone through the hands of some criminal, it may be the old Silk Route criminals, drug dealers, or gun sellers, or whoever who has collected ransom in the form of Bitcoins, that Bitcoin, when it is transferred today, either as a whole or after being broken up into Satoshis and sold, the current buyer of this will always acquire it with a title which is defective, because this is all a process of money laundering. Therefore, every transfer of Bitcoin is part of money laundering, except the case where you know that the person transferring the Bitcoin to you is a miner. So if you know that a person, miner in the sense M-I-N-E-R, that is, if that person has himself mined the Bitcoin, then he has got legitimate clean title which he can transfer it to you. But when you go on the exchange and buy as a barter system, the holding you get is definitely not something which you can be sure that it has come directly from the first miner, and it has passed to several people. If any one of them is a criminal, then the Bitcoin which is in your hands is a product of money laundering, which is actually a violation of a law. So this is the basic problem I have got in terms of the Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies because of the easy conversion. I also feel that if deep web is a threat to the trustworthiness of internet, then if we want to choke cyber criminals, cyber terrorists, and the deep web, one way is to reduce the power of monetary benefit which one can have in crypto transactions. This can only be done if Bitcoin and all other private cryptocurrencies are banned. Now, Reserve Bank of India tried to prevent the banking system to be used in these Bitcoin exchanges, but unfortunately, their circular was scrapped by the by the Supreme Court on some technical grounds. Supreme Court said the Reserve Bank of India has the power because under the RBI Act, they are the sole. They have the sole authority to issue currencies in India. Nobody else can issue anything which can be called as a currency. So Supreme Court said Reserve Bank has got this power, but somehow they felt that the circular which was issued banning the banks from and therefore perhaps a window of opportunity for people to say that the Supreme Court supports Bitcoin and Bitcoin is legal in India, and that is how we are today talking of Bitcoin. And if you see any of the Bitcoin promoters like the websites, they are all gloating over the Supreme Court verdict. And though even after the Supreme Court verdict, there are many ways by which the Finance Ministry, Reserve Bank of India can reissue the circular. Nobody seems to have done anything. They are all very busy with the corona. But actually this Bitcoin, in my opinion, is actually more dangerous than the coronavirus. So for the sake of India, we have to make our political leaders understand that if you allow Bitcoins to spread, then Indian currency stock with the public will all get converted into black money. We will today, black money may be 2%, 3%, 5% of the money circulation. Tomorrow it will be 80%, 100%. Then the inflation also will go up. So the economy will go for a toss. So this is where I think responsible netizens need to see what they can do to prevent such a thing developing. So this is basically my viewpoint. I know I am not popular with this viewpoint. There are many of my friends in the technology who have invested money in Bitcoins, and when I say Bitcoin has to be banned, I am directly telling them that you lose your money, so they are not happy. That is a different issue. How the existing genuine people who have invested in Bitcoin from their tax paid assets, how they should be allowed to come out of their current Bitcoin holding. It's a matter of procedure which can be done. But otherwise, in terms of principle, as an ex-banker, I find that there is no way Bitcoin can be given a legitimization in India. This is my view. Now, I would like to hear from some of you if you have got any specific questions, and then we'll see what general opinion comes forward.
Good afternoon, Naavi. This is Namit Kothari.
Naavi, thank you. That was a very Sridhar Raj, are you all able to hear me? Are you all able to
hear me? We are able to hear you. Yeah.
Yes,
okay. Naavi, that was a very, very brilliant and very short presentation from you. You could have actually spoken even 3 to 4 words on Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies. We are very sorry we had to cut short.
What Lokesh will do perhaps. Okay, technology part of it, let him
in favor of Bitcoins, I'm very sure about it. So now just about 2-3 minutes more time, you please spare with us. I'll just read out some 2 or 3 very interesting questions alone, so that you can leave in another maybe 3-4 minutes. Okay. Now, one gentleman by Dr. Mahendra Lemaya has said that Supreme Court has struck down notification of RBI addressing banks not to deal with traders involved. This point you already covered in your presentation, so you don't have to take it as a question. With due respect, these are from triple plus solutions. With due respect, there are some misunderstandings in the concepts being explained. Would you like to correct them with permission after this slide is over? I do not know what he means by some misunderstandings in the concepts. Just about 1 minute, can you clarify, Naavi, what he means by it?
No, which slide he is talking of, I don't know.
May I speak?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Sir, with due respect, just let's let's take the case of the pricing itself. Can you just go to the pricing slide? I think it was the second or third slide.
Okay. Where I said different. Okay, I think I skipped over.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah,
The last one.
this one. Well,
Yeah. Let's just talk about just one concept about the free market valuation. Let's say we have a product which is on sale. The seller has put up a pricing of, let's say, 500 rupees for that. The buyer, on the other hand, evaluates it to a value of, like, say, 400 rupees or something. So they have a bargain and they come up to a common pricing of 550 rupees. So there's an agreement on the pricing.
agree.
So that's the first part of a contract, the meeting of the minds. So the agreement has come up. Is that correct? Is that
No, I have no problem. If somebody wants to buy it for 10 lakhs, let them buy it. My only problem is, don't call it as a currency. Say, if I got a property, now one person may say, I will buy this house for 1 crore. Another person may say, I will buy it for 10 crores because I have got some sentimental value or something like that. We can't argue about that valuation. That is free market.
So,
but don't call this as currency.
since it has been coined as a cryptocurrency since the very beginning.
You might have coined as cryptocurrency, but if currency is something which is used as a Reserve Bank of India central bank backed system of exchange, which guarantees the, suppose you have got 100 rupee note, you can go to Reserve Bank of India and exchange it, is the concept, is it not? Now that is the value of, that is the definition of currency. So that currency term should not be associated with the asset which is being exchanged at whatever.
I believe
I told you about these chips in a club. Say, I am not saying that chips cannot be used within the 4 walls, but if the chip is brought out and then in the next neighborhood grocery shop you can exchange it, then that is coming into competition with the monetary supply system. Then we have to worry about the society being affected. Okay.
This is the case when the pricing, when the valuation is in context with an Indian rupee or any other international currency, US dollars, for instance. I'm
not talking of valuation. I'm talking of convertibility.
Yeah, see, anything is convertible as long as the barter system exists. We can convert a goat for 2 cows or something like that. It's always possible.
Yes, don't call it as currency. We don't call a cow as a currency.
I mean, in the earlier times, it was a currency until the Indian system and the.
Sorry for the interruption, gentlemen. A virtual currency, we call it as a digital representation, but that's the function of the medium of exchange. Medium of exchange is nothing but the money. Forget about the currency.
It does the function of value. It is store of the value.
It's the store of the value. It does the function of the medium of exchange. We call it as a digital representation. As Mr. Naavi was saying, we cannot call it as a currency, even though the terms and Google says digital currency, virtual currency, and all other things.
I'm also out. Naavi, please take a
currency is money. Sir, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Naavi, one gentleman by name Marutish is asking, many exchanges have disappeared, bankruptcy, without notifying investors, and investors don't know whom to approach.
You can't approach anybody. Say, this is when, say, for example, if 2 underworld people have a fight, they cannot go to the police for their help. They have to fight themselves and settle it.
Okay, very clear. Very clear. Thank you, Naavi.
Sir, a small question to my senior, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, how to buy Bitcoin, sir?
How to buy Bitcoin? You have to find somebody who is selling the Bitcoin.
I want Lokesh Babu to answer this. No. Lokesh Babu, in fact, I got this question for you.
Yeah, Lokesh Babu can answer, and I think I should now try to leave now.
Yes.
I think it's time for
Sridhar Raj, please unmute all the participants. Let all the participants give a round of applause to Naavi before he leaves.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Naavi, for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Keep thinking about it and see whether considering this as a currency is beneficial to the country and its economy or not. That is all we have to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Naavi.
Thank you. There's one thing I would like.
Can I proceed with the next?
Yeah, I will leave, please. Thank.
Yeah, please.
Sir, may I speak with your due permission?
Yeah, please, gentlemen.
Sir, The presentation was great, but what I think is the presentation had views and opinions of Navi versus what the facts are. The facts are slightly different. I believe that whenever such presentations are made, the facts should be put up before the people and let them decide what is better, what is a better case. uh, I'm not sure how to do that. Maybe a session on bitcoins by
And
me
whoever
would
is
work out.
asking a question, let his or her face be open on the video, so that we would like to know the name of the person and look at the face before he's asking. I think that will be a good etiquette, right?
I believe it's not possible for me to do that at the moment. That's the
Tell
reason
me your
I
name
my
and
video
company at least.
is. I'm sorry.
Tell me your name and your organization before
Yeah,
posing the question. I
definitely.
think that
It's
will be
the.
a good,
Uh,
decent etiquette on the part of the person who is raising a question.
I definitely agree to that. My name is given on my screen name is already there while I'm speaking. I'm Amit Kothari from Triple Plus Solutions. I believe that should be sufficient introduction. And my viewpoint is, if
So,
the
Lokesh
facts.
Babu, you want to begin your presentation talk right now, or you want to take up this question?
No, no, let him finish his question, sir. I'll answer his question, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Okay.
believe that the facts should be presented, and the viewers should not be presented with one-sided view of the thing. I'm sure another presentation is there in the favor of Bitcoin. That's the pro view should also be presented.
Yes. See, actually, let me answer for your question. I don't get your name. I'll call it as Triple Plus Solution itself.
I'm Namit Kothari.
Kotari. Okay. Mr. Kotari, see, actually, the session goes with only for 1 hour. And after putting these things and asking the audience to raise up the question, it will take minimum 2 to 3 hours. Maybe I'll speak with the DiSAI directors and DiSAI chairman to put a one more session with 2 to 2.5 hours. Then at that time, we'll try to able to answer all your questions.
No, sir, I do not have a query. I'm just suggesting one thing,
Right.
that with the negative view, a positive view should also be presented to the audience so that they can make an informed choice.
I am here for the positive view. We'll start the
Sure.
session. Maybe after my session, I'll answer some of your questions if you have.
Thank you.
Right. Sir, yes, sir. Rajendran, sir.
Yeah, you can start
Yes, sir.
now. Yes, I present welcoming Lokesh Babu for his wonderful presentation. Has already been introduced. He's
my
a
time
trainer.
allotted was
He's a
only
general director.
Rajendran, sir. The schedule is only for 10 minutes, so there is no presentation as such. I'll just give a small lecture, and if the people who are in this thing can ask me, raise up the questions on positive and negative sides, I'm ready to answer.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
Actually, the speech what I'm going to give, or the discussion what we are going to make, may be against the thought of Mr. Navi. Navi spoke on the negative side of the bitcoins, whereas I take up on the positive side of the bitcoins to make them understand what exactly bitcoin is. See, forget about many things. Bitcoin is one of the digital currency which has a highest value in the market, right? As we know, the fiat currencies which is available in the globe as of now is 180 currencies which is been legally approved by the United Nations, right? Whereas the number of cryptocurrencies available is more than 1,600 currencies. There are 1,600 cryptocurrencies which are available in the internet as on 19th August 2018. I have not checked it today, but this keeps on fluctuating, right? The second thing is, there are many countries which has approved the bitcoins as a legal currency, and they collect for the legal currencies as bitcoins. Countries like Switzerland, Singapore, Georgia, Hong Kong, Japan, Germany, these people allow bitcoins to buy any product in their country. It's a legal product. I'm not speaking about the illegal one. Legal product in the sense you can buy any product. The same thing is applied even in India. Starbucks, coffee shops even also collect bitcoins for paying the coffee, which means you take a single coffee and try to pay it with bitcoins here in India. There are countries which pay salary through bitcoins. If it is highly and full illegal, then we should think over how the countries collect tax, how the countries pay salaries through bitcoins. there are lots of companies which pays lotteries and other things through bitcoins only, which is legal, tax payable, right? Hello. Right.
Yes, clear.
Yeah, I think it's audible, right?
Yes,
Yes, yes.
Please
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Bitcoin is not anonymous. It's pseudo anonymous, which means it is artificially anonymous. It's not generally anonymous. As Mr. Naavi said, there are possibilities to trace the person who does the Bitcoin transactions, provided if he does through a proper OS. See, for example, OS like Tails has a inbuilt wallet of Bitcoins, which means there is no need to create a wallet for you. If you install that OS will already contain a wallet. You have to enter your username and the password as such to activate the wallet. So when this development has been made in India, a developing country cannot block Bitcoins. See, you cannot block the Bitcoins not to use. Previously, just before the Supreme Court has struck down the RBI ban, everyone was using Bitcoins. That is, in the year of 2009, when Bitcoin was born, the value of Bitcoin is 0, which means you can just mine the Bitcoin in the year of 2019, 2019 October month. A person sells 10,000 Bitcoins for $50 in auction. But the value increased by the day by day. It reached nearly 18 lakh in the year of 2018. Of course, now it has dropped down to 7,28,000. I'm not very sure the exact number. It has reached to 7,20,000. The reason is there are Bitcoins being used in various countries for legal perspectives also. You cannot say Bitcoin as a illegal currency or illegal digital representation, to be very clear, right? We can't blame Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a digital development. Yes, sir. Sir, Rajendran, sir. Rajendran, sir.
Yes, sir. Chalo.
Yes, sir. Now, if anyone has the negative aspects or the positive aspects of the Bitcoin, they can raise up the question, sir, please. Hello. Hello,
Hello.
Rajendran, sir. Rajendran, sir. Sridhar.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, now you can allow the audience to raise up the questions if they have.
Just a minute, sir. I will inform Rajan.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, I have a query. I have basically a suggestion, not exactly a query. Namit Kothari
Yeah,
from
Mr.
Cryto
Kothari.
Solutions here. I believe a 1-hour presentation versus a 10-minute representation on the positive sides is not justified. I believe, you should do a full presentation again.
Yes. The time slot allotted by Mr. Rajendran was less. Yeah. No. Mr. Kothari is asking the positive side should be more time, and the time slot allotted for me is very less and 10 minutes time. So I've completed 10 minutes as such.
What I meant is to explain the positive sides of the Bitcoin currency as a currency or a commodity or an asset.
Okay.
You ought to allot the similar kind of explanations, detailed explanations, which Naavi sir has portrayed. And I mean, he's totally entitled to his views, and I totally respect them. At the same time, when this presentation is being relayed to around 38 participants at the moment, I believe that the correct view should be presented, not only just a brief of what exactly is this.
Sorry to
You can
interrupt.
conduct a full session on that. That's the suggestion. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sir Rajendran, sir, is there? Mr. Rajendran is there?
Yes, sir. I'm very clear. I'm able to hear. No, the video is not coming.
Yeah. Yes,
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Okay. I think it should now be okay. There was some line disconnectivity.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, Mr. Kothari wants more time to discuss on the positive side of the Bitcoins.
Yeah,
correct,
I also heard it.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, this is Rashmi. Also, I think it would be interesting to analyze the Supreme Court judgment. Like, I was saying that I think it would also be interesting.
Rashmi ma'am, I could not hear your question. Can you repeat it once again?
No, it's a comment. I was saying that I think it would be interesting to also analyze Supreme Court's judgment.
Okay.
Why did it, because they found RBI's circular banning this cryptocurrency extreme, and that's why they thought that RBI's action was disproportionate. And it did not really impact any market, and as the government is trying to make it out to be. So I think when we're doing this another session, it would be good to also touch upon that. I mean, surely now the government will bring another bill probably to curb this cryptocurrency. But I mean, right now it is allowed, and that's what Supreme Court said, that there is no law, and RBI wasn't entitled to actually just ban cryptocurrency without there any law being against it. So.
Lokesh Babu, you want to respond, or you want me to respond?
No,
to
you please, sir.
I think she's talking about RBI, but RBI initially about a couple of years back they said very clearly they are not in favor of bitcoins. They were disinclined. That is the word they used in our circular. Subsequently, they issued a circular telling banks not to associate themselves with bitcoins. But it so happened that the Bitcoin, pro-Bitcoin protagonists, they filed a case, and Supreme Court, a 3-judge bench, they said that they did not completely say that RBI circular is null and void. It was a cleverly worded circular. They said RBI has used an excessive power vested with it. Bitcoin not being a currency right now, RBI does not have any control over Bitcoin. So this circular telling banks not to deal with Bitcoin related industries and transactions is itself invalid. So indirectly, Supreme Court said that let the banks deal with companies dealing with Bitcoins, let the industry flourish. This is what Supreme Court indirectly said. And this is the point which Naavi and of course myself and many others are actually objecting to it. So right now, RBI, I would not say it has not banned. This also is in response to a question from Murugan. He has asked the question very clear, very straightforward question. He says, has RBI banned cryptocurrency in India?
Yeah.
RBI tried to ban it, but the Supreme Court circular has has made that circular null and void. So the RBI efforts to ban cryptocurrency has failed as a verdict at the hands of Supreme Court. Now it is up to the Home Minister or the Finance Minister or the Prime Minister and the Enforcement Directorate and all those people to look at Bitcoins from an entirely this paradigm, this angle, whether it will impact the money flow in currency or from that angle. So possibly government can come with notification, can empower RBI to issue the circular once again. That is a legal route, but government did not do it. In fact, government and RBI has not even gone an appeal against the Supreme Court. I would say, unfortunately, they are not appealed against this. As on date, Supreme Court verdict stands. Supreme Court judgment, as on date, it stands. It holds good, which permits trading in bitcoins in India. And Gopika has asked this question, being a new user, could you say how to buy Bitcoin? I would request Lokesh Babu to answer this. I don't want to guide people how to buy Bitcoin. I don't want to do it. Let Lokesh Babu, if he's convinced, let him do it.
I'll guide. In India, Bitcoin, since it is legalized, I have the right to advise them how to buy Bitcoins.
No.
See, buying a Bitcoin is not a big issue, ma'am. You can approach companies like Zepay, Unicoin, Coinbase, and you can approach them. You can pay it from your bank account to them, and they'll open a Bitcoin account and they'll send it to your wallet through Bitcoin itself to your account.
So, Lokesh Babu, Maruti is asking this supplementary question. Can purchase Bitcoin from net banking.
10 minutes
Net banking or NEFT.
Yes. Yes. It is possible. You can buy bitcoins through net banking and internet banking from your bank account.
Really mind blocked that.
Hello.
Hello, yes, Rashmi, madam, you want to say something?
I think I have answered that question to
Okay.
Mr. Murugesh. Yes. Is there anything else? Who?
Okay.
I have a query again, sir.
Yes,
Navid
please.
Kothari from Triple Plus Solutions. Should
Yes.
these centralized exchange exist in the first place? Because Bitcoin is itself is decentralized.
Yes. Can you come again with your question once again, please?
Am I audible properly?
Yeah, it's a little disturbances there. Please.
Okay, I'll rephrase it.
Yes.
Should these companies,
Okay.
basically the
Okay.
exchanges, what you suggested,
Okay.
should these exist in the first place?
No.
See,
Ideally, there
yeah,
are
please go ahead.
there are various currencies in the world. See, for example, we are available in India. Indian currencies are given more priority or importance in Indian boundary. These virtual currencies cannot overlook the Indian currency, that is the fiat currency. They cannot overlook the Indian currency and stand on above the any fiat currencies. They are considered as secondary currencies throughout the globe. This is not only in India, throughout the globe. Even if you go to Japan, the Japan currency will hold the first place, and the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Monero, whatever the currency may be, will hold only the second place.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand the relevance of the explanation to my question.
So you are asking whether this cryptocurrency can be given first place, right? That exchanges.
No, that's not the question. The question is, should these exchanges, these companies like ZPay and other companies you have mentioned, should they exist in the first place itself? Because Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency is supposed to be decentralized.
Yes.
It cannot have a centralized.
Yes. Yes, true. But what is the problem? What is the? I don't understand what exactly you're asking.
Basically, I'm asking that the system being introduced in India, like you can buy Bitcoins from these companies, these centralized places, is basically totally wrong. The whole idea
you say it is wrong to buy it through companies like Unocoin, ZPay, and other things, right?
What happens is when you buy from these companies, they hold your balances, and somebody has mentioned in the comments here that some of them have disappeared without notifying investors, and investors do not know whom to approach as it is not backed by RBI.
See, this Bitcoin cryptocurrencies, I know this is fully decentralized, and if you want to buy a Bitcoin, you have to reach someone who handles with the Bitcoin buying and selling, right? If you are a technical person, then you hold the right to directly mine a Bitcoin and go open a wallet and generate a Bitcoin for your account, and you can use it as such. But if a common man wants to buy a Bitcoin and he does not have any system knowledge as such, he approaches through exchanges like Coinbase or something like that, and tries to buy the Bitcoins through them. That's all, right?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, is that a right way to do it? Should that be recommended as a way to do it, to obtain Bitcoins?
See, as a technical person, I don't recommend anything for Bitcoins, but this is the way which is prevailing in the system now. People who hide their genuinities hide in such a way they take cash, approach them, buy Bitcoin, start their transactions, and further they don't go for the transaction through the exchanges. Some people directly mine the Bitcoins and create their own wallet and do the transaction through business.
Yeah. For instance, Gopika asked the question, being a new user, could you say how to buy Bitcoin?
If your intention is for doing an illegal activity, I don't blame Gopika here. So if your intention is to start illegal activity and you don't want to show your identity, Let the identity be concealed with the internet area.
No, this is
No,
totally in
then
context with the
just a second,
companies.
just a second.
Sorry,
Then
please go ahead.
then it is not advisable for any person to reach a exchanger and get the Bitcoin. You will be easily traced back. If you are a genuine person and want to make transaction, for example, if you are trying to fly to Japan, and Japan allows bitcoins to buy many of the shopping places in Japan, and you need a bitcoin as a legal currency only. Then I think there is no mistake in approaching a exchanger for the bitcoin and get the bitcoin transferred to your wallet and use it in Japan, right?
I believe there is some disagreement in our views. What my perception is that we should not be allowing, we should not be recommending.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry, Logesh and Triple Plus. Sorry to interrupt. Instead of prolong this as a two-way conversation, we can put an end.
Yes.
I'm just wrapping this up with this last sentence. My suggestion, my viewpoint is it should not be recommended. Ideally, let the user should be put up the facts and let the user be decided. Let the user decide how they want to procure it.
Yes. I don't recommend, gentlemen. I don't recommend. If you ask me a question, this is the simplest way. A way is shown. I don't recommend. I don't allow anyone to go and approach them and try to buy bitcoins. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Rajendra, sir, your area, sir. Hello.
Ramesh Bhashyam,
Yes,
can you
sir.
please wrap up in about 2-3 minutes?
No issues. Yeah, very good morning to all of you. First, I would like to thank the speakers of the day today, both Mr. Naa Vijayashakar and as well as Mr. Lokesh Babu. They had a wonderful presentation on the bitcoins and as well as the cryptocurrency. They explained more in a simple language, and it's both Mr. Naa Vijayashakar and as well as Lokesh Babu. They are cyber law veterans. They are cyber law. And Mr. Ravi Shankar is the latest Data Privacy Act and the Data Protection Bill. He is of cyber law cases in a professional way. Thanks to Mr. Naavi and as well as Mr. Lokesh. And also I thank the participants who participated in this webinar in spite of the hectic activities. Last but not the least, I thank Chairman and Managing Trustee of Prime Point Srinivasan for presenting the Zoom communications. And also I thank our Chairman, Mr. V. Rajendran, for taking some kind of initiatives.
Sridhar Raj mainly for doing all this strenuous background work. Sridhar, please unmute everybody. Let everybody give a big round of clap. Let everybody wave their hands also. Please unmute everybody.
Thanks,
Please
Mr. Babu.
Let me hear the claps of everyone. Question can be taken up offline also. Our DiSAI website is there. info@disai.in is our email ID. Lokesh Babu can be approached, myself or Naavi or Ramesh Bhashyam, we are all here. You can send an email to any of us. Thank you. There has been a good time well spent with all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Balu. T.K. Sundarajan, Balu, Vignesh.
Dr. Sundaresan, Mr.
Shankar.
Kodan Raman,
Dr. Sundaresan.
Mr. Kodan Raman.
Yes.
Thanks for the audience also for posing the questions.
Yes. Thank you. Really. All the questions are very interesting.
Yes.
Okay, Sridhar Raj, இது பண்ணலாமா?
Thanks, Sridhar Raj.
Okay, sir. சார் நான் இப்போ டிஸ்கனெக்ட் பண்ணா எல்லாருமே டிஸ்கனெக்ட் ஆயிடுவீங்க. எதுவும் ஃபைனல் டிஸ்கஷன் எதுவும் இருக்குங்களா சார்?
இருக்கா? டிகேஎஸ் ஏதாவது சொல்லணுமா? டிகேஎஸ், பாலு, சங்கரன், அபய்,
Gopika,
சுப்பிரமணியம், கோபிகா, விஜி, விக்னேஷ், anything?
Okay.
Can you go offline? Okay, thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.